Unit 1, Lesson 4.3, Look for the Signs. Some evidence that a chemical change has occurred is what we're going to talk about next. So, the protection of an odor. In the example on the slide, you have a rotten egg. If you've ever hunted Easter eggs and not found quite all of them outside, you know that in a couple of weeks they're going to stink. And they're going to stink like sulfur, hydrogen sulfide. That's a chemical change within the egg. No longer is it an egg that you can eat. The example of the watermelon rotting on the slide. There are chemical changes within the tissues of that watermelon as it rots. And so it changes from that nice, juicy, tasteful watermelon to a rotten, stinky watermelon. A chemical change has occurred. Production of a gas. If you add two things together and it bubbles or produces a gas, you know that something different has happened. The two things you added together chemically changed to give off a gas. Matter isn't lost or created, it just changes forms. So in the example in the beaker on the bottom, we have several pieces of evidence that a chemical change occurred. But you can see that the gas is coming from the beaker. In the picture up on the right, you have a test tube, and in the test tube, my guess it is probably some acid, and then they drop, then the next test tube looks like a piece of chalk to me, and they added the acid to the chalk in the test tube, and it furiously bubbles. So the chalk and the acid are reacting together to create new things. One, there's a production of the gas. My guess is carbon dioxide. And then there's something new within the liquid also. Forming a precipitate. Precipitate is a chemistry term that we use to talk about something that falls out of solution. In Earth systems, you'll talk about a precipitate as precipitation. So make sure that you figure out that difference. In the example on the left, you see that they drop a drop of something into the test tube, and we get a yellow precipitate. A change in color occurred, and we're getting something falling out of solution. Same thing for the slide on the right. We have a blue solution, and then we add something to it. Not only do we get a color change, we get a darker blue, we also get something falling out of the solution and going to the bottom of the test tube. Changes in energy. The example on the top is an example of a piece of pure metal being added to the beaker. It's probably a piece of sodium. When the sodium hits the water, a reaction occurs. Not only do you get smoke, you also get a change in energy, in that you can see the flames bursting. Same thing with the example on the bottom. We get smoke, but we also get a change in energy. We get that flame that occurs, so heat energy is produced. And we already talked about this one, change in color. So on the bottom, you can see that these beakers are changing color, and this is actually a fun lab that you'll probably do in chemistry. On the top, not only do we get a color change, we also get the production of a gas. So when we're talking about physical changes and chemical changes, make sure that you pay attention to the difference. In a physical change, the substance does not change its identity. In a chemical change, the identity of the substance changes and its properties. I hope you're ready. After you read the information on page 46, you have an active reading question that asks you to compare physical and chemical changes. On page 47, you have your visual summary. In the table on page 12, they want you to classify each change as either physical or chemical, describe the evidence that supports your choice with a claim.